Let's go. Come on, let's go. What are we doing? Why are we going to let people that think the 2020 Alabama team would beat the 2019 LSU Tigers? Why do we even let them exist? So we're going to talk about that today. Also, Zach Arnett, according to Bruce Feldman, who is as close to Ed Orgeron as anyone in the media. He probably got his info from Ed Orgeron. Zach Arnett is not going to be the next defensive coordinator. So those are the two big things we're going to talk about tonight. And obviously, we're going to talk some personnel. Austin Deculus has announced his return. Is this even a big deal? Is it a big deal that Austin Deculus came back to LSU? I think it is, but I do think something needs to change going into next year. So we say hi to Ken, Overtime, Maxim, Marcus, Lewis, Eric, Kane. As always. So I want to start with the Zach Arnett news because we just released a video just a few hours ago regarding Zach Arnett, right? He was in Baton Rouge today, and basically, before his plane could even land back in Stark, Vegas, he had already been told that it is not happening. He did not get an LSU offer. Now, what's very fascinating about that is that happened so quickly, right? Zach Arnett flies in for the interview. What did LSU really have to gain by telling Zach Arnett no that quickly? I've been thinking about that for the last hour because, the Marcus Freeman thing took days on end. And Zach Arnett, who was, all things considered, a pretty good defensive coordinator this year for Mississippi State, well, they told him no quickly. We saw to Larry, Overtime, Marcus, Drew, Adam, Mike.
You want a sweater?
No, we're fine. My girlfriend just asked, do I want a sweater? Because it's chilly. But you notice the shirt I'm wearing tonight, right?
Right. Is it warming up at all down here?
It is warm. Okay. I don't wear this shirt that often. I want to preserve its integrity for quite some time. All right. My national championship LSU shirt. As you can tell, there's probably a message being sent about this shirt that I want to convey to all the Alabama fans that are out there. Okay. This is the nicest shirt you possibly could have, Marcus, until Power Hour LSU makes their own merch, which obviously I know we got to make merch. We got to make some merch. We're going to get to the LSU versus Alabama because it's funny. I did the Zach Arnett piece earlier, and then at the end, I spent about 7 to 10 minutes on 2019 LSU and 2020 Bama, and I broke it down by the numbers. That's all you guys wanted to talk about. Okay, it's fun. Greatest team of all time. And we haven't even mentioned 2018 Clemson in that discussion. I still think they are below 2019 LSU and 2020 Alabama. But the one thing about 2018 Clemson is that their defensive line was so much better than LSU and Alabama's defensive line. Now, LSU and Alabama's defensive lines were good. They weren't 2018 Clemson good. Okay? But as Larry points out, Zach Arnett is a young defensive coordinator. So he checked all these boxes, right? Young guy on the ascent of his career. Affordable hire. Also, about Zach Arnett. He's a guy that was great with yards per play, a stat that a lot of you like. But he wasn't just great in yards per play. He was great with points per game. Mississippi State improved in a lot of statistical categories on an all-SEC schedule with a team that had a ton of opt-outs. And Mississippi State also lost their best defensive back they've had in the last 10 years. The year before, Cameron Dantzler, who was the best NFL rookie corner this year. Better than Jeff Okudah, better than our boy Christian Fulton, better than A.J. Terrell because he was still recovering after what Jamar Chase did to him in the national championship game. So I get it. But Arnett must have really bombed this interview. He must have really not impressed LSU enough for them to just say, nah, we don't want this guy. We don't. So it's interesting. So Maxim asked, what defensive coordinators do you want? So for a lot of you that are watching this right now, you guys know who I want already because you've watched the long video I did on it. So Maxim, I'm going to give you a Cliff Notes version. Names that I like. David Reeves at UAB makes a lot of sense. Joseph Gillespie at Tulsa makes a lot of sense. Carl Dunbar, at least as the defensive line coach, makes a lot of sense. I would at least reach out to Carl Dunbar to see if he's interested in joining the staff. But now it's to the point where I think LSU is seriously contemplating a guy I do not want to be the next defensive coordinator, Corey Raymond. Okay? And I've thought long and hard about Corey Raymond, and it makes a lot of sense to do it. And it would be a historical hire. And he's been one of the best defensive coordinators in college football, or the best defensive backs coaches in college football. But what I don't want to happen is him fail, and then let's say Corey Raymond does become the defensive coordinator, and you lost your best position coach. Coaches LSU has on staff. Corey Raymond is there's a pretty wide gap in everyone else that's on the staff as far as defensive coordinators are concerned, or defensive coaches are concerned. So that's going to be a problem, because if he goes to defensive coordinator, and let's just say he just bombs, well, he is struggling at defensive coordinator, and the defensive backs coach you would have to get to replace him is not going to be as good. And he's also the recruiting coordinator, and he has been killing it. So he is so great at something with your staff already. If you want him to be the defensive coordinator, he's going to have to do something completely different than he's already doing for your team. So it's interesting. Let's go to Marcus here. I'd rather bring a positional coach up from the NFL than bring in a small school DC. Nielsen, Schumann, Strong would all be fine. What about Charlie Strong? I'd be interested. JJ, welcome. Our resident nurse, our resident medical worker. It's really cool stuff. And some people are talking about co-defensive coordinatorship. Maybe you pair Corey Raymond with someone else as a co-defensive coordinator. I would be open for that. But, I'm just not on fire about the Corey Raymond thing. I'm just not. And here's the thing. As many of you know, I like him. I actually love him. I think he's underrated in a lot of aspects. I think he is so much better at what he does than most people are at coaching defensive backs. Legit, there has not been a positional drop-off from his position. Okay? Never. Isn't Austin Thomas as a general manager or whatever his title is now, he would help out with some of the recruiting stuff. So here's the thing. It's not as if I think Corey Raymond would fail as the defensive coordinator. But he's never called plays before, and you're asking him to do something different. So to me, as bad as the LSU defense was last year, I would like a fresh set of eyes to come in and bring some new insight to the program. So we'll see. But obviously the breaking news, Zach Arnett will not be LSU's next defensive coordinator. So we'll see what happens there. And this search, I just don't know what's going to happen next. I just don't. Is it my internet? Is my internet choppy? Or is it your internet? I don't know. I just talking to this lovely camera here. Let me turn this off right here. Oh, I'm lagging. Let's see. Very excellent. 1 second. Will you put your internet on the hotspot?
Yeah.
Okay. So we're working on that. PJ, I appreciate your super chat, man. I thank you so much. Let's see. Let's see. All right, that's fixed. All right, close that out. And let's do this. All right, hopefully that fixes it right there. But anyway, continuing on here, let's see. Some breaking news here. Ryan Schottenheimer was fired by the Seattle Seahawks. How about that? I've been begging for Seattle to get some new blood in for Russell Wilson, because I like Russell Wilson a lot. But he had been killing Seattle. I think they need to get rid of Pete Carroll too. I really do. Thank you so much, Mike, for your support for the live stream here. Let's see. Seattle's defense was terrible this year. Yeah, they weren't good. I honestly think, and I really do mean this, I honestly think they need to get some new blood. I really do. I think, and here's something else about Seattle, because honestly, there's a lot of LSU Tigers on Seattle. There's Jamal, obviously, at safety, and then, got Ethan Posick and Damian Lewis. This is what I think Seattle should do, because in that division, I think are the two best coaching staffs in the NFC, not named the New Orleans Saints. Okay. Shanahan is really good with Robert Saleh, and the Los Angeles Rams are so well coached. And I know it helps having freaking Aaron Donald, and it helps having Jalen Ramsey and Cooper Kupp. They got great talent. But I love watching their defense operate. And I wish Alabama, I wish LSU would incorporate a lot of what Seattle's doing defensively into what they're doing now. Mikey, I appreciate your super chat. Let's go to PJ. Okay, PJ, you retracted your message. So, PJ, whatever you want to talk about, let's talk about it. Mikey, you too as well. It's one of those things where I truly believe, going back to LSU, I think their next defensive coordinator could very well be Corey Raymond. I do. And would it be the worst thing? No, it would not be the worst thing. We're freaking LSU. So we'll see what happens. Shanahan grew up in great coaching. Yes, he did. Absolutely. I want to move to the offensive line. Okay, so Austin Deculus announces that he's coming back, right? Now, we're still waiting on Dare Rosenthal. Everyone is expecting Dare Rosenthal to announce that he is coming back. I am hoping Dare Rosenthal decides to come back, but there is a caveat to that, okay? Let's go to JJ really quickly. Ohio State's defensive coordinator, Kerry Coombs, was so bad yesterday. Was so bad, okay? But here was the big conundrum about that. And JJ, I'm going to answer your question now. We'll get into what we're about to get into. But, okay, let's go to Mikey. Next big star at LSU. Good question. So, all right, Mikey says the next big star. So I'm going to X out players that we already know are stars, okay? We know BJ Ojulari is going to be a star. Elias Ricks is already a superstar. Elias Ricks could be the best corner in college football. Okay? So we already know that, right? But you're talking about the next big star. All right? So obviously the easy answer to this would be Kayshon Boutte, right? Kayshon Boutte seems as if that guy is going to be really great. Of course, he wears Jamar Chase's number, or for you old schoolers, he wears Brandon LaFell's number. Where's that number 1 jersey, right? And we just saw the game against Ole Miss. There was a lot of good with Kayshon Boutte. There was also a lot of meh with Kayshon Boutte, okay? But that's going to get worked out. By all accounts, he's a hard worker. He's a humble guy. You know, it would be really hard to not think that he's going to be a star, okay? But I'm going to go to Carvis here, and he says Jaquelin Roy. And I actually agree with him. I do think Jaquelin Roy is going to be really good. It's going to be interesting to see how that defensive line actually works itself out. But I'm going to give you a surprise answer here because this really shocked me. Whenever I went back and I rewatched some of the final games, I'm going to go with Liam Shanahan. Liam Shanahan looked really good the final few games of LSU. And a lot of it had to do with rotating quarterbacks. Liam Shanahan had a really good game against Alabama, and knowing what we know about how good Alabama's defensive line played at the end of the year, that was actually a pretty good performance, and that was with TJ Finley at quarterback. Then, how many times did you see LSU have a bad snap this year? Not many. So, for his first year being a starting center, which I don't believe was his position at Harvard, he really started to play well at the end of the year. Okay? Now, when I say a next star, we're hoping he takes the next leap towards being as good as, Ben Wilkerson or someone like that. But, at the end of the year, there wasn't much difference between Liam Shanahan and Elliott Porter or Liam Shanahan and Ethan Posick or whoever you want to mention. He looked pretty good. He looked really good. So I'm going to give Liam Shanahan some serious love here. And he got better. You're right, Kane. To start the year, he wasn't great. He just wasn't. The Mississippi State game was a rough go at it. He got better. He put in the work. He got better. And one more thing about Liam Shanahan that deserves a lot of credit. How many times did you see him speaking to the media? A lot. Every single week. He had to be the representative of LSU football, even though it was his first year. Okay? Now, it's not hard to go out there and speak to the media, or is it? Because when you're representing your team, you're representing everyone in the locker room. And this happens all the time, because I used to go to those media sessions. If you misspeak or you say something stupid, you know what happens? A lot of fans from other teams will go off and say, well, look at their players. They're stupid. The football players at LSU every time gave thoughtful answers. Even when the team was bad, spoke to the media. When the team was good, they put them out there for media availability. Over guys that have been at the program for a long period of time. So I'm high on Liam Shanahan. I really am. We'll see what happens. He was consistently one of the better players on LSU at the end of the year. Oh, there's nothing wrong with Kayshon. Heck, 300 yards. How can you go against that? But, there were some games where he had drops. There was some route running issues. He had one of the lowest percentage of receptions on slant routes amongst players that had 8 targets or more on slants. You go back and you look at LSU's offense, the 2019 offense, those slants to Jamar were huge. And he's a true freshman. I'm just picking out the little things. But overall, he's a stud. And he's going to be an All-American probably his junior season when hopefully we're competing for another national champion. So that's my answer, Cade. Because look, if we're being honest, there's not many players that have no meh. Okay, when I say meh, that's not bad. I'm just saying there were some plays and instances where he wasn't great. The one play that stuck out to me the most about Kayshon Boutte, obviously he got hurt before his game-winning reception against Ole Miss, but so many people point out the fumble against Alabama. All right, he did the stupid Deshaun Jackson thing, and it's stupid, okay? We don't need to harp on that, all right? It was dumb. Lucky enough John Trey was there to pick up the ball. But you know what he did? And I showed this, and Kate, if you want to watch it, we did a LSU versus Alabama film study. On John Emery's long touchdown run, Kayshon blocked his guy all the way into the end zone. And the hustle he showed on that play gives me chills. I'm getting chills right now because we didn't see that early in the year from guys that have been on the team, doing the little things right, blocking your guy all the way into the end zone, making sure they get in there. So it's those little things. Let's see. Somebody said Trey Palmer. Good question about Trey. You know what's interesting about Trey? Sometimes a wide receiver can get lost in the shuffle. And I do think he's really talented. And I'm not just saying that. Obviously, he's probably LSU's fastest receiver, him or Kayshon. If they raced, I don't know who'd win. It'd be pretty close. But those two guys are the fastest receivers on the team, right? But is Trey better than Dre Jenkins? I don't think so. Is Trey better than Kayshon? I don't think so. So, for that number 3 receiver spot, going into this year, it's going to be Kayshon and Dre, more than likely. So that number 3 wide receiver, Trey's going to have to beat out Coy Moore for that spot. And not only are you going to have to beat out Coy Moore, if you're at Orgeron, you want one of the incoming guys to at least play. Have you seen Malik Neighbors? Have you seen his tape? He's ridiculous. He is ridiculous. And he's got some serious attitude. That dude has some serious bite to his game. And what I mean by bite is he'll let you know he's good. Now, Eric likes the incoming freshman class, okay? Eric's a big Brian Thomas Jr. guy. Who wouldn't be? If he comes to LSU, he would compete for playing time right away. Because how many receivers does LSU have that's 6'4" tall? So, John Trey Kirkland's back too, as Carvis points out. So Trey Palmer might just get lost in the shuffle. We'll see. We'll see what happens. Charlie says Deion Smith is really good. Some of you think Chris Hilton is the best receiver. So Trey Palmer might get lost. If you know for sure Kayshon's going to be one of the guys, there's 2 open spots. It's a talented room. It's a really talented room. Still a bit short for tight end, Devonta Lee. Interesting. But Malik Neighbors looks like a dude. He really does. I just like his attitude. I was watching some of his bootleggers clips, the Louisiana, and I know it's 7-on-7, but still, that guy just, he's just an animal. 600 away from 3,000 subscribers. Let's go. So is the internet better? I hope it's better. I should have refreshed my computer. I went to my girlfriend's niece's basketball game, and I got back in around like 6:30. It's been better? Okay, good. So if you can, folks, obviously hit the thumbs up button if you can, and we'll keep this thing moving. JJ, okay. Trey Palmer's fast, but he's not Trenton Holiday fast, but I get your point. That's not what you were saying. Keep Trey Palmer as the kickoff returner. You know what's interesting? And I brought this up on a live stream before. One of the most beautiful routes I saw run by an LSU receiver was Trey Palmer versus Ole Miss. On 3rd and 7, he did a okey doke, Justin Jefferson style in the slot, and Max Johnson missed him on the option route. He threw it to where he was instead of threw it to where he was going, and it was a miscommunication, and it would have been a walk-in touchdown. They were playing zero over the middle, so it is what it is. I know, Charlie, and I need to do the film study on it, but it was a filthy good route. And Max Max thought he was just going to sit down, and that's the thing, and this gets into what we brought up here before. The one thing Joe Brady did was he went to Mickey Joseph and he went to Steve Ensminger, and he said, look, we need to focus in on our 3 best guys. Who are our 3 best wide receivers? Well, Justin was the best wide receiver going into last year. And then, they were like, okay, this Jamar and Terrace guy needs to start. And LSU rolled with those 3. And those 3 developed the chemistry with Joe because they were the starters. They got the starters reps, time in and time out. And when Derek Dillon had to play, he was really good. When Stephon Sullivan had to play, he was really good. But ultimately, when LSU rotated so many receivers this year, one game it was Coy, and then another game it was Jure, and then I like, and this is me personally, I like a tighter rotation. Yeah, you know what, DC, I couldn't find it, so send me the link again. I went to it and I clicked the notification. I could not find it. So I would love to see your shout out. I really would. I know, DC. Send it again. Let's see. Why is there a Notre Dame troll? Why is there a Notre Dame troll on an LSU channel? Because they beat us in a few meaningless bowl games? What in the name of Ian Book is going on? What in the name of Tyrone Willingham is going on? What in the name of Charlie Weiss is going on? Because I can be in here. Uh-huh. Now you can't because I blocked you. See? And Marcus is a sharp guy. You want to keep that rotation tight. Ken wants to talk LSU running backs. Okay? So who wants to talk LSU running backs, or do you want to keep it on wide receivers, or would you like to talk defensive coordinator? Once again, the Super Chat's wide open, Venmo, Cash App. If you do that, you have control over the entire live stream. We'll talk about whatever you want. So, my surprise stars was our last Super Chat. I appreciate that. Our surprise stars, I'm going to go Liam Shanahan. I'm also on the defensive side. I'm going to go with Mason Smith. I'm buying the hype. I just am. And I hate to do that. I really do. You guys know I don't like to hype up freshmen. I'm buying it. I'm sold on Mason Smith. Chris Coase, what's good? Austin, that's a good question. Do we think Jure Jenkins has hit a ceiling? That's a really good question. It's kind of hard to say if someone's hit their ceiling when you had so much volatility at the quarterback position. And you had so many, that's the thing. We don't get a big sample size. Miles Brennan, we have a 3-game sample size. You don't get huge sample sizes in college football, which is why I have clamored for years. I even went on the SEC Network's show on Sirius XM. Peter Burns had me on as a guest. And I said, can I make a suggestion? Because I know the powerful people listen to that show, the powerful people in the SEC. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to give you $1 million suggestion right now. If the SEC Network got out in front of this and said, look, we're going to do 7-on-7 offseason tournaments. We're going to televise it. everybody would watch. 7-on-7 football is fun. I used to hate it. It's fun to watch. Okay, a few years ago, go back and look at those Justin Fields versus Trevor Lawrence 7-on-7s. Dude, it's nuts. Dude, I was shocked at how much fun I was watching it. And, it's actual competition, and you can actually see who your best quarterbacks, your best receivers are, and these kids play it all the freaking time. Right, Antonio? Could you imagine LSU versus Bama 7-on-7? I'd love it. All right, let's go to Mikey. Let's do... Mikey's already super chatting for Boog the dog. We'll get Boog in here in a second. Let's go to Mikey's question. Let's do running backs like the gentleman suggested. This is for Boog. Okay. So let's do an interesting question, right? Let's do okay. First off, everyone, round of applause. Mikey's given us a few super chats. Thank you so much, Mikey, for supporting the channel. So let's start with this question. Who will be the better group of running backs? The running backs that LSU currently has, or the two running backs that are coming in now? So, who will turn out to be more productive? John Emery, Josh Williams, Ty Davis-Price, Kevontre Bradford, or are you higher on Corey Kiner and Goodwin? Okay? I know, man, Eric, I'm telling you, Eric really believes this class we just got going to win us a national championship. Okay, Dexter, expound on that. I'm dead serious, Dexter. Expound on that. It depends on the run blocking scheme. Marcus thinks it's going to be a mix of TDP and Goodwin. Gavin thinks our running backs suck. That's I mean, they weren't great last year. Ooh, Carvis. Carvis, I respect your football opinion. I've shouted you out so many times. That's why my eyes lit up. Emery and TDP will be Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. What? Are you kidding me? That good? If we're that good, we're going back to the playoff. We have Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. I mean, that was, heck, I don't remember Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. I mean, they're up there with like McFadden and Felix Jones. I mean, they're up there amongst the greatest. I mean, Cadillac and Williams, or Cadillac and Brown. Carvis, I love you, but that is I mean, really? And look, they have the potential, but we haven't seen it yet. I mean, Nick Chubb and Sony Michel. That's wild. That's crazy. That's huge. And I hope you're right. Heck, I was listening. Darius Geis Leonard Fournette, that good? Yeah, McFadden and Jones. I mean, that was a movement. I don't think we'll ever see anything like that again. With the way football is now, I don't think we'll see the Cadillac Williams, Ronnie Brown type of offenses again. I just don't think it's going to happen. So, you guys know I agree with Marcus a lot. And I know Marcus has supported our channel a lot. But he does say a lot of enlightening things. And this is very interesting. TDP and Emery have so far failed to show the vision needed for our scheme. I agree. But that could change. Geis made huge strides in 1 year himself. Okay. So, let's actually do some math, okay? I'm not great at math, all right? But I do like to see patterns. Robert, thanks for your super chat. Robert, what would you like to talk about? Welcome, Robert. Your card will be in the mail this week. For those that don't know, Robert is getting my Rashard Lawrence auto that I was going to keep for myself, but Robert deserves it. Robert, how are you feeling? You shared with us that your family was battling the Rona. I hope you are feeling a lot better. Everyone, welcome Robert back to the chat. Thanks for supporting the channel. So I want to look up something before I say it because let's see. All right. So I want to share something with you. Okay. Eric, I knew Eric was Eric. This is one of my favorite things about Eric, right? Eric likes to one up when it comes to the comparisons. Okay. Eric is saying Kiner and Goodwin is going to be Lindale White and Reggie Bush. Okay, that's the best non-SEC running back duo of all time. That might be the best duo of all time. Lindale White and Reggie Bush. Are you kidding me? Having to run down Reggie Bush for a full game and then 200. What was it? Lindale was like 220. Ran a solid 4.5 coming through the B gap. Whew. Could you imagine that? I'm telling you, Matt Leinart had a better supporting cast overall than freaking Mac Jones. Those USC teams were freaking ridiculous. I mean, imagine handing the football off to both of those guys. Those guys were wild. Yeah, I know, Kane. It sucks. Geis was a monster, though. So, Robert, what would you like to talk about? So let's go back to the running back discussion really quickly. It all depends upon what the offensive line does. It all surrounds that. So I agree with that, Robert, to a certain extent. So Robert still wants to talk running backs. We'll do that. But can I bring one thing up really quickly? What changed though? What obviously changed with the running backs from 2019 to 2020? Well, obviously, Joe Burrow was gone, right? And having a mobile quarterback and running out of shotgun, we've shown this in the LSU film study versus Florida, how Max Johnson, just his slight ability to run, Max Johnson is not a great runner, but he's an effective runner. Joe Burrow was a great runner. Max Johnson is an okay runner. He'll probably get better. But what changed? Oh, wait. Our guy right here. You know who this is, right? We talk about him because he's forever our backdrop. Kev Falk, the iconic Sports Illustrated cover right there. And a Steve Nash bobble. How cool is this bobble? Steve Nash is probably wondering, hey, where is Kyrie? Okay, so Kev Falk, this was his first year coaching the position, right? So a lot of you pointed this out, and Cliff, who's not here tonight, I don't know where Cliff is, but he would always point this out, that the LSU running backs had a very weird rotation, right? It was a very weird rotation. So, Kev Falk played for the Patriots, right? Well, Kev Falk had a weird rotation. We always talk about the Patriots, right? Well, he was, when he was with Tom Brady, he had a weird rotation. He was their third down back. But it was a weird running backs rotation, was it not? Who all thought, okay, let me put this out there. Who all thought the LSU running backs rotation was weird this year or interesting? Who all thought that? Low-key says the running backs rotated too much. Okay, who thought the LSU running backs rotation was strange? Mick says yes. Juwan says yes, too much rotation. Kind of like with the receivers, right? So this is funny, right? We have a universal agreement. How many times do we have universal agreement? Guys that have been with me on this channel for a long time, okay? I think Leslie brought this up to me as well. It's rare that we ever fully agree on something. Okay, the LSU running backs rotation was a little strange sometimes. one rotation, it would be this guy, then another rotation would be that guy, and then in the middle of the Texas A&M game, Josh Williams became the guy, the fifth string running back, and I like Josh a lot, but sometimes it was Chris Curry, fan of the channel, Chris Curry. I think he's a fan. So it was strange, right? But who was the LSU running backs coach before Kev Funk? Oh, yeah, it was Tommy Robinson. Where did Tommy Robinson go? Oh, he went to Texas A&M. What happened to Texas A&M's running backs group? They were pretty good, weren't they? How many of you knew who Isaiah Spiller was before the season? Not many of us. I didn't really know him. I know he played a lot. I didn't really know he was good. Dude was one of the best backs in the SEC this year. Isaiah Spiller was a monster. Okay? And he's not like, when I watched him, I never thought he was like just special, but he's really good. He was a smart back. And then his name slips my mind. He wears jersey number 6. Isaiah Spiller gets hurt. They have someone else going off in the bowl game. Right? Now they're 4- and 5-star recruits. But Tommy Robinson in his first year at Texas A&M was pretty freaking good. Was he not? Am I lying? Yeah, Carvis. Yeah, I mean, you know a lot, but he wasn't like a household name, was he? So I'm not criticizing Kev Funk. I'm not. Coaching a position is really freaking hard, right? But this was the first year of him being a running backs coach. And we were replacing one of the best LSU running backs ever in Clyde Edwards-Helaire. And this is a weird offense. This is not the traditional plug and play. So those are all things that factor into discussing the LSU running backs. The bottom line is that it was a mixture of issues. First thing, volatility at the quarterback position. Second thing, really inconsistent offensive line play. As we pointed out in pretty much every film study, Chase and Hines had a really rough year. Liam Shanahan started off really slow. LSU didn't have mobile quarterbacks, and that makes it a little bit easier to key in on the run game. Now, that doesn't mean you can't run the football with an immobile quarterback, as we saw with Alabama. Their running game was the best in the country. And Mac Jones is a statue. But it does help. But the bottom line is LSU has never had rushing statistics as bad as they were last year. 3.3 yards per rush, not good. Not good at all. All right? Now, the carry share was strange. I thought that they gave the football too much to guys that shouldn't be getting it. But that's going to have to get figured out at some point. What's up, Michael? And Marcus, that's a good point, too. You can't run zone read with an immobile quarterback, and LSU tried to do that. Now, Joe Burrow was really good at it, but he's Joe freaking Burrow. There is nothing he can't do as a quarterback. There's nothing. He's really good at everything. So that helps out. And on top of the running back struggle, as we've brought up in recent live streams, LSU, and this was, as many of you know, a huge part of the offense, LSU could not throw to the running backs. I don't, and it seems like it would be something simple. We couldn't get our check down game right. We sucked at that. Sucked. And Carvis, I agree with that. But as some of you have pointed out, Chris Curry has posted some of my clips on his Instagram, or it's on his Instagram story. I'd love to have him on the show. I'd love to know where he's going. I still think Chris Curry could be a really good player. But as we pointed out in some film studies, there's some consistency and vision issues there. And Adam brings up a good point as well. And someone else mentioned this earlier, that Pete has history as a running backs coach, so that's obviously going to help out as well. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. I have promise for the LSU running backs group, but if you were to ask me right now, who do you think is going to be the better long-term answer at LSU for running back? Would I go with the guys coming in or the guys that LSU already has? I would go with the guys coming in. I would. I like Goodwin. I like Kiner. They're different backs, but they're both really freaking good. So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Huntsville, what it do? How does it feel to be champions, Huntsville? We got our first Bama. Well, we got a few Bama fans watching. We always do. That's a good point, Austin. Kiner's not the biggest dude. He's not. Goodwin's a little bigger. So you know what's funny? Only at Alabama could they say after winning a national championship, I feel normal. And you should. It's plug and play. Congrats to you, Huntsville, for real. You're a diehard Bama fan. And on top of that, you have provided a lot of insight for our channel. We appreciate you, man. We had a Notre Dame troll in here earlier. Jimmy At called some people in Vegas, okay? And I know some of Ott's people in Vegas, too. You know what's funny? Jimmy Ott gave me my first radio opportunity. And they would have Bama favored by 3 to 3.5 over 2019 LSU. That's fair. That's fair. I could see that. I could see that. You know what? If in all due honesty, if they played on a neutral field, I think LSU, out of 10 games, okay, at a 10-game rolling average, I think the 2019 LSU team beats the 2020 Alabama team 6 times out of 10, okay? That's how close I have it. It's tight. It's really tight. It could be 11 times out of 20. And it is a coin flip. I mean, we're talking ace king versus pocket tens. You know, it's a coin flip. A little poker drop in for you. Okay? TPVN, we'll get into that in a moment. But since Huntsville is here, we'll chat some LSU versus Bama. So, you know, all their stats are pretty equal. Okay? This to me would be the biggest difference. So, and if you watched our video earlier, I shared this. You know, DC said it's like Drew Brees or Aaron Rodgers. Well, I'm a Drew Brees fan, and I'll take Aaron Rodgers. But if we're talking career accolades, you know, Drew and Aaron are pretty equal when it comes to that. Aaron's going to have a second MVP, though, here in a few weeks, and deservingly so. He was the best player in the NFL this year. It should be Aaron Rodgers or Josh Allen. If it's not either one of those guys, I would be very disappointed. I hope Mahomes doesn't get it. And I like Patty Mahomes a lot. My fellow light-skinned brethren. I'm all about it. But, you know, he wasn't as good as Josh Allen or Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, I mean, the personnel is so tight. It's so tight. I'll tell you this. I think the biggest gap in personnel, okay, the wide receivers are pretty even. It's a pretty even wide receivers group, okay, especially if you factor in Jalen Waddle. If Jalen Waddle's playing, then it's a dead heat between LSU's receivers and Bama's receivers. And then obviously at tight end, Billingsley versus Moss, it's pretty even. The Billingsley's faster, but Moss is a better blocker. Yeah, it's even. Quarterback, I mean, come on. I mean, Mac is great, okay? If you go by PFF grades, Mac Jones is better. If you go by passing efficiency, Mac Jones is better. But let's use the eye test. Joe Burrow's better. Joe Burrow's better. Okay? Let's go to defensive side. All right? Alabama's defensive line is better than LSU's defensive line. The 2020 Alabama defensive line with Christian Barmore, Will Anderson coming off the edge, even though he played linebacker. But as an edge rusher, he's special. True freshman, he's special. Linebackers, LSU has a slight edge there. It's close. It's close. But Patrick Queen and Jacob Phillips, slightly better than Harris and Moses, okay? In the secondary, LSU's got it. However, LSU's got a slight edge in the secondary. There is one big asterisk, though, about that, okay? I think it's fair. Marcus, I think that's fair. Caleb Vaughn and Anderson are probably equal. So that's a good point too, Huntsville. Mack is also very efficient in the offense that he's in. LSU secondary is better, but there is an asterisk. Every time our best corner, which is Derek Stingley Jr., was matched up on their best receiver, we have 2 full games of evidence that we could not stop that guy. Okay, we have 2 full games of hardcore on-tape evidence that we cannot stop number 6. Okay? And that was our best guy. Okay? Couldn't stop him. No, not even slow him down. Okay? Not even close. So that's obviously a big concern if you match those 2 up. Special teams. LSU slightly better punter. Then you have Cade York. In 2019, he was obviously better in 2020, and then you have Bama's kicker this year, who was spectacular. Special teams, it's a push. So who wins? I got to give LSU the slight edge. Slight edge. Slight. It's slight. Could just be my bias speaking, but this is why I would give LSU the slight edge. And it's the slightest of edges because Joe Burrow can run. If you go back and watch the LSU versus Alabama game last year, Joe Burrow's ability to run is something you can't account for. When everything was covered, Joe Burrow made a play with his legs. And if we're using the 2019 matchup, okay, some people would say, okay, you got to scratch that game out. We just got to look at what we know now because the 2020 Bama team is different than the 2019 LSU team. But if we're going to use that game as evidence, Bama simply could not stop Joe Burrow running the ball. And it wasn't just the long runs. They could not sack him. There was a play, so a lot of you watch this. There was a play in that game where Joe Burrow had a free blitzer coming at him. It was 3rd and 7. And the guy was unblocked. LSU offensive line, it was a missed assignment. And Joe Burrow spun out, threw the ball to Clyde Edwards-Helaire. It should have been a first down. Instead, it was 4th and inches. And Ed Orgeron decided to punt. And because of that decision, that allowed Alabama to get back into the game. If LSU had just went for it and got it, it was 4th and inches. It probably would have gotten it. It probably would have gone on ahead and scored. And then that game is probably never even close. And to this day, I'm still mad at Orgeron punted it. I dedicated an entire episode. It's episode 14. It was a bad decision. Almost as bad as Mike Tomlin deciding to punt down 2 touchdowns this past weekend. Okay? But Joe was so good. Okay? We never saw Mac Jones in dire straits. But here is my biggest argument in favor of Alabama. All right? My biggest argument. The biggest gap in position groups is this year's Alabama's offensive line and LSU's offensive line from last year. They both won the Joe Moore Award for the best offensive line in college football. But I watched a lot of Bama this year. And, of course, I watched a lot of LSU last year. The Bama offensive line, especially with the healthy Landon Dickerson, is a better group than the 2019 LSU offensive line. They're just a better group. They just are. Okay? Well, you're an LSU fan. You can't say that. That's just my honest opinion. That's the best offensive line I've ever seen. It's the best offensive line I've ever seen. So I don't know if LSU could get to Mac Jones. All right? Even with Dave Aranda's crazy blitz schemes. Alabama's offensive line was immaculate. Immaculate. That was the best group I've ever seen. Like, it looked as if they were playing a different sport. It looked as if they were that freaking good. Vinny says Tua had a 71% completion percentage. Mac had a 78%. And here's something that hamstrung Alabama. Okay? And Alabama fans would agree with me on this. Tua thought too often that he was a playmaking quarterback. What Tua was better than Jalen Hurts, but Tua too often thought he was a Jalen Hurts and Joe Burrow type of playmaker when he wasn't. He's not as athletic as those guys are. And in Nick Saban's system, he'd rather just a guy just throw the football. Throw the football. They got 5 Biletnikoff winners to throw the football to. Hey, what did music say? Because Bama pays better. And that's the thing, James. And this is something that's very interesting about the 2020 Bama team versus the 2019 Bama team. The 2019 Bama team had every recruit from the 2017 recruiting class playing in that game, right? LeBron Ray was always injured, but still, the greatest recruiting class I've ever seen in college football history was that 2017 Bama recruiting class. That was ridiculous that Saban got that group. That was Tua, Leatherwood, Moses, Judy, Ruggs. I mean, that class was ridiculous. Najee Harris was the number 1 player in that class. That class was unreal. But obviously, we got Joe Burrow in 2018. But the 2017 LSU class, which was ranked 7th, because according to 247, that was also LSU's best recruiting class, but not by number, okay? LSU had a high amount of low 4 stars, and 3 stars turn out to be 5-star players. That was Patrick Queen, Clyde Edwards-Helaire, Justin Jefferson. So that was the ironic thing about this matchup, is that the fulcrum of both of those teams was that crazy 2017 recruiting year where LSU and Alabama, dude, there's so many NFL guys just in those 2 recruiting classes. Yeah, it's true. And Mac Jones was in the 20. That's the craziest thing. This is the craziest thing about Nick Saban's buy-in, right? That Mac Jones was on the 2017 Bama team, and he was the 3rd-string quarterback. You know, it was Jalen and Tua and Mac. And Mac never decided he was going to transfer, even though he saw those 2 superhuman quarterbacks in front of him. But the 2017 Bama class, the best recruiting class I've ever seen. Now, I'd have to go back and look in the SEC. Now, you know, maybe what would that be? That would be the 2006 Florida class with Tebow. Maybe, what was that? That was Aaron Hernandez and all those guys. So we'll see. You know what? I do think Saban's coaching is better. Okay? Because you watched the game. We watched it together on a live stream. All right? Ask yourself this question. How many Bama touchdowns yesterday was simply due to them just making a play? Or how many of the touchdowns were by play design? So many of the touchdowns Alabama had yesterday, especially in the red zone, where they would, pre-snap motion. It was very Matt Canada-esque. It was very, they would put Devonta in motion, and then he would go across the formation. And then the very next drive, he would go across the formation, but he wouldn't. He would then go back, and they would throw it to him. They did the same thing versus Notre Dame. And Kerry Coombs could not figure it out. He thought playing 3 buzz with Tough Borland, okay? Never should a linebacker named Tough Borland be guarding the greatest SEC wide receiver of all time. That should never happen, okay? Ohio State was out-schemed. They were out-coached by Saban and Sark, okay? Sark was a nasty play caller to the point where I don't know if, was Sark a better play caller than Insminger Brady? That'd be interesting. Or Insminger Brady Mangus. Let's give DJ some credit. I know, Marcus. That's so wild. It's so wild. So I pissed some people off on Twitter today. I did a list of the top 10 Alabama running backs in the Nick Saban era. And so I did a long list. And then I put Derrick Henry at number 2 and Najee Harris at number 3. And then at number 4, I had Trent Richardson. And then at number 5, I had Mark Ingram. Now, obviously, my favorite back is Mark Ingram because, he's just cool. Played for the Saints. He's super cool with the Ravens. I like Mark Ingram a lot. But then, I didn't post number 1. And everybody's like, who's number 1? Who's number 1? And then I posted a clip of Alvin Kamara. And everybody was so mad. Like, no, he didn't even play at Alabama. But no. I'll say this. Only Derrick Henry's better than Najee Harris. I'll include that as well. And I'll say this. 2020 Najee Harris was better than 2019 Clyde Edwards-Helaire. Not by much. They're different players. But to counter that, 2020 Najee Harris didn't have a game as good as 2019 Clyde Edwards-Helaire versus Bama, if that makes sense. But I had a lot of Bama fans in my DMs. Oh, Alvin Kamara, are you really doing that? It was obvious that I was trolling. It was a joke, okay? But really, only Derrick Henry's better than Najee Harris. I'm dead serious about that. Najee Harris blows me the freak away. And, with all due respects to Clyde, Najee was a beast in that 2019 game. He made Patrick Queen look like a regular human being. So, Carvis, you think, okay, let's do this. That's true, James. But, to counter that, James, dude, it blows my mind how often Najee Harris, even if you have him dead to rights, he will always fall forward. That was what Jacob Hester was so good at. Stephen Ridley. But this was a 5-star talent who, even when you tackled him, he falls forward for 2 extra yards. I don't know. It's fun talking about this, though. All right, it is. And it's fun having a team that we could discuss with the Alabama Crimson Tide. It does. I agree with that, Alan. Lots of young guys. Buck Bama. That's true too, Marcus. But, one thing about Najee that really impressed me, dude. Okay, so obviously everyone talks about the hurdles. All right, the hurdles are ridiculous. I also like the way he answered the question. A reporter asked Najee Harris after the game, why was it so easy versus Ohio State? And Najee was like, dude, I'm hurting. Dude, they were hitting me hard. He's just a funny dude. He's an interesting guy. From his recruitment, he jumped on a plane with Tua and just signed with Bama, the number one player. You know what, James? That was their biggest strength. But I don't know. And you guys know I love Clyde. Oh, Marcus. Yeah, thank you so much. I love that, man. Thank you for your donation. And you actually do make a good point. A lot of it is scheme, too. Okay. CH would fit the Saints more. Najee would fit the Titans placed. I agree with that as an example of two effective schemes. I would agree with that. Thank you, Marcus, for your donation. I really appreciate it. It is very well received. Thank you. Thank you. So, Marcus, that's an interesting point. All right. So, Ty Davis-Price, he is a traditional runner, and I do think he would fit Bama better. There's some guys I look at Bama and I say, okay, they would fit LSU better. But there's a lot of guys that have gone to LSU that would fit Bama better. So Ty Davis-Price is one of those guys, more of a traditional bruiser type of back. And what's interesting is, I think Ty Davis-Price's mom shared this recently. Nick Saban stayed on a phone call with Ty Davis-Price's mom until 2 a.m, or it was a FaceTime. Nick Saban wanted TDP so freaking bad. He wanted him so freaking bad. So we'll see. James. Okay, James wants to move on. So let's do this. Some of you guys want to move on and talk recruiting. We always talk recruiting. Marcus dropped a $50. So I'll throw this out there. Who wants to talk more LSU versus Bama? Okay. Oh, somebody's ready? Okay. Who wants to? Okay. When we get our booger break here, let me know. Would you want to talk more LSU Bama, or would you want to talk some LSU recruiting?
She was whining, Dad.
So Marcus wants to move forward. Okay, we'll do that. The two super chatters want to move forward, but first, here's our normal booger break. Everyone say hi to Bug. Bug's here. Say hi to Eric, Marcus, SPH. Wait, Bug, who do you think is the 2019 Bama or 2019 or 2019? As can you say, all right. Bug says Tigers all day over Bama. How does Saban get the guys to come back? That's a good question, Carvis. I'm more interested in how Saban got Mac Jones to stay.
Debbie on?
Debbie's not on here. So Mikey wants to talk recruiting. So, what's interesting is the Eric Wilson thing doesn't look like it's going to happen. Adam with the bug.
Oh.
The money comes in with bug.
Eric's, I've got to make sure Eric sees bug, Trey sees bug, Miss Debbie sees bug.
Everybody say bug. So who is your number one target for LSU that is not signed yet? Is it Brian Thomas Jr.? Is it Savion Jones? Is it Jordan Moko? Who do you think it is? Who would you say is the number one target for LSU? Adam says Rajon. Interesting. I don't think it'd be Rajon, huh? We're looking pretty good with linebackers, right? We had Josh, Antoine. Let me ask you this, Adam. You super chatted. Do you think Rajon is better than all the other linebackers we've gotten?
I'll get her back.
Yeah, Bug will come back in a second.
She's thirsty.
So Rajon's not coming, but
where you going?
He did say he'd be interested if Marcus Freeman had gotten the job.
Go out. You might need food, baby.
So, Antonio, you think it would be... So, Antonio... And here's the thing. I liked Destin Hill. I know his name used to be Destin Payson. I like Destin Hill. I really do. His film really does pop. But do you really need him and Brian Thomas Jr. when you already have 4 receivers signed and your position is already super young? I have no problem with Destin Hill joining this class. But if Brian Thomas Jr. comes, those slots are important. Also, something else to keep in mind. Yeah, I don't think Rajon's as big of a need. I would rather Rajon Davis over Hill or Thomas at this point, because we got some holes at linebacker. But I like Brian Thomas a lot too, and Bug Strong. That's a good question. JJ wants to Micah Baskerville. I'm down to talk some Mike Baskerville. Let's see. I mean, is Micah Baskerville Devin White? No. But he could be like a Perry Riley type of player. A very good, but not. I think Micah Baskerville could be an all SEC type of player. I don't know if he can be an all American, to put it on that. Music, that's simply not true. If you think it's bad now, wait until players can profit from likeness. They will all go to Bama for the biggest payday. That's actually a myth, right? Because, well, who's the biggest star at Alabama? Well, it's Nick Saban. So Nick Saban is still going to get the most player and likeness money. Now, I've shared my thoughts on player and likeness before. Should Devonta Smith have been able to post an ad on Instagram, make $400,000 saying he was going to be on the national championship game, get a cut from ESPN and Rolex or whoever would want to spot? Yeah, I don't think any one of us would disagree, right? But pretty much everywhere, any Division I Power 5 school, remember, if you're a fan of a Power 5 school, it's appointment viewing. So you have a solid audience. So a lot of these players would make some decent change with sponsored Instagram posts. But, I don't think any one school is going to get millions of dollars more for their players and advertisements compared to other schools. I just don't think I think that's a myth. Let's go with the name calling. No curse words. I don't need to get demonetized. Let's see. And I actually agree with Marcus. I've always been this way. If you go look at some of my old blog posts, I would just break down Alabama film just to do it. Watching a Nick Saban team, when you're actually watching the game, it sucks because they're not competitive games, but they're really fun to watch on film because, they're so disciplined and so smart. Bruce, that's a good question too. We're talking about recruiting. What about Big Cat? That's a guy. Ed Orgeron loves him some Big Cat Bryant. I remember after the LSU Auburn game, he embraced Derek Brown and Big Cat. Ed O would like some Big Cat Bryant. He could play a 4-3 or 3-4. Dude, he's a beast.
Baby, turn my flashlight on my phone.
You got your gloves on. And
is that all you do?
Yeah, you can just press it down.
Oh, wow. Thank you.
I agree. Gasly, I actually do agree with you. Players will make money, but significant amounts of money. There's probably 20 players per year that can make a significant amount of money. Carvis, I don't know, but I would take Big Cat Bryant. I absolutely would. He's a good player. Okay, let's put it this way. Is Big Cat currently a better lineman than Neil Farrell? Yes. Is he a better lineman than Glenn Logan? Yes. Is he a better lineman right now than Jaquelin Roy? Maybe. Well, I'm ready to see what Jaquelin does in year 2. Is he better than Mason Smith? Probably not. Mason's finished product, but he's probably a better player right now. Yeah, I'll take Big Cat Bryant. Absolutely. Music, that's a myth. Are you kidding me? It will not kill the LSU program. I mean, I could make a case that LSU players will make as much as anyone off the NIL. Are you freaking kidding me? Do you know how much money Joe Burrow would have made with the NIL? He probably would have made a good $2 million on just sponsored Instagram posts. The Bama brand is bigger, but LSU's not far behind. There's 10 schools with elite brands, like elite brands. LSU and Bama are obviously, two of the top 5. And then the others are Ohio State, Clemson, and Oklahoma. And then there's also obviously like Notre Dame, Florida State. He is, but he's thick. I would like to see Big Cat play a 4-3 defensive tackle if that's what they decide to do. And he wears a single-digit number, okay? I'm all about single digits, baby. If you're a playmaker with a single-digit number, I'm all about you. Mikey, thank you for the super chat. Who are the freshmen coming in that could battle to start? So Mason obviously is the first name for me, and Sage is obviously a big name. So you're 2 5-stars. And I know it's simple, but they're the 2 best players you got. So yeah, I think those 2 right off the top. Obviously, I've said this plenty of times. Peyton Todd will play the most out of any of the true freshmen this year because he's already the starter. Music, that's just not true. I'm telling you, okay, the Saints and the LSU Tigers are both elite brands, okay? Go look at the NFL ratings. There are more people in New Orleans per capita that watch the NFL more than any other city. And this is a city that hates the NFL, okay? You remember when they boycotted the Super Bowl? That was actually a real boycott. It still drew a decent rating in New Orleans. So, Louisiana football is as good as it gets because, like SPH mentioned, the Saints are the only pro team in town. LSU is the only Power 5 school in town. You have a loyal following unlike anything else, okay? Also, Mark Ingram, a Bama fan, is beloved by LSU fans. Beloved because he played for the Saints. And I like you, Music. I really do. But, I'm pushing back against you because it's just my honest opinion. You might be right. You might be right that the Bama players would get millions of more dollars from the NIL. We don't know what's going to happen with that. But what I could tell you is that there are a few things in the world when it comes to playing football that is better than being an LSU Tiger and better than being a New Orleans Saint. Now, obviously, I'm a fan of both teams, and I'm biased when I say that, but it's actually true. Okay? I mean, heck. So many Saints players stick around in New Orleans and have successful businesses. Zach freaking Streif has a brewery and he's a radio guy. And Deuce McAllister went to Ole Miss. They went to LSU rival schools. And they are loved by the entire state. National brands. Now, does the national media put down on the Saints and LSU sometimes? Yes. One of my favorite national hosts, who's always taking jabs at New Orleans, is Colin Cowherd. Okay? I love Colin. But even then, I don't give a rip. Most national brands freaking love LSU. Scott Van Pelt, closet LSU fan. He'll tell you that. He's a huge LSU fan. The 2 freaking biggest sports podcasters on the planet rep LSU all the time. PFT and Big Cat.
Here we
are. LSU's kind of viewed as a fun, and even SPH would say this. What was the first thing when SPH joined the live stream? The first thing he said when I asked him, how does it feel to be a national champion? He said, normal. Okay. All right. When we win national championships, we're obviously jumping for joy, right? And we had the second most national championships since 2000, only behind LSU. I'm only behind Alabama. So it's interesting. Ryan Russillo. I actually talked to Ryan after the championship game. Huge LSU fan. The national guys love LSU.
My question is, why did they all go storm the streets in Tuscaloosa?
That's actually a good question, too. My girlfriend brought this up. It's wild that college students will be college students, but they charged downtown Tuscaloosa.
No masks.
No, man. I mean, they were just grinding, making out.
At least 10,000 people.
Yeah, I mean,
swear to
how many
God.
people would y'all guess were in that? That's a good point, too, Carvis. Justin Jefferson has the whole NFL. Well, all of football doing a dance that's made in New Orleans. And, you factor in, go look at all these coaches that have huge Louisiana influence. It's everywhere. It's everywhere. NFL. Okay, you put together an all-time great NFL team, put up the city of New Orleans, put New Orleans natives up against any other city ever. We don't do Gary Danielson hate, baby. So my mom, there's a clip of my Instagram of my mom putting down on Gary Danielson. Oh, she ate mud. Gary Danielson hates LSU. No, he doesn't. He doesn't hate LSU. Gary Danielson at SEC Media Days would give me an interview every year and talk and hang out for like 30, 45 minutes.
Come here.
I don't think Gary was anti-LSU.
Now, do you think you deserve a treat after that? You're going to get one.
Where do you live, Adam? I'm interested. Thanks for all your donations. Well, Jade, funny. Colin was not a Joe Burrow guy. He couldn't have been more wrong, and then he just had Joe Burrow on a show. So the reason why people are anti-Joe Burrow is that quarterbacks that come from elite schools rarely do well in the NFL. Okay? So that was his big point. But you actually have to watch Joe Burrow play. He made so many plays last year that were very NFL-esque type of plays, such as stepping up in the pocket. What's funny? Joe Burrow made so many NFL plays against Alabama, but it was the next week against Ole Miss where he did some downright stupid things. Like, and I would say stupid in a great way. LSU's offensive line was very inconsistent against Ole Miss. Joe Burrow was doing like Johnny Manziel, but like at an NFL level type of stuff. Looking off safeties. One of the most impressive Joe Burrow throws last year was the first touchdown to Jamar. Okay, the pass protection broke down. He wasn't even looking at the edge rusher who was running free, and he just stepped up past him like it was nothing. And he was looking left, threw to Jamar to the right, and just threw a dime running to his right. I mean, it was NFL Josh Allen, Patrick Mahomes type of stuff. Now, he doesn't have their arm. So, Joe Burrow didn't have a great arm, and he doesn't have, crazy hand size, but he does all these little things. He throws in anticipation. How many times did you watch Joe Burrow in 2019 force the ball into double coverage? It just never happened. So I could see why a lot of national people were like, oh, yeah, that's plenty. I could see why a lot of national guys were like, oh, well, maybe put a little bit more in there.
Are you joking?
Yeah, just a little bit more. Just a little bit more. Let me see.
Baby.
Let me see. Okay.
That's a pretty fair amount of lasagna.
Okay. Who thinks that this is enough lasagna to eat for dinner? I mean, I need another chunk. I got another. Who thinks that this is enough lasagna? Okay. We
call it lasagna. We know it's lasagna.
Okay. Because you got to pronounce the G in lasagna. Who thinks there needs to be more? Just another clip of the other pan chunk.
Do you want it?
For one person. Exactly, Marcus. Yeah, just one more scoop of the other kind. There's just one more scoop in there.
Scoop.
Just one more little scoop. That's all I want. It's just one little extra scoop. Yeah, and I'll talk about HBCU bands all day. It's the greatest thing about college football. We didn't have it. Okay? HBH played college football at an HBCU. I kind of hope the Deion Sanders thing happens. But if you are a fan of HBCU bands, you need to watch Baychella. Okay, that was the best thing about Beyonce's Baychella
That
performance.
was so fucking freaking.
Oh my God! God, I wonder what those band members were like when they got the call and they said, "Look, this style of music, you're gonna be in this Beyonce performance." It just gives me chills because that was like the first time that really an international audience got to hear that sound. That sound, it's a sound. Okay, it's something that's not, you can't replicate it, and
Gremlin.
it's great. Okay, James said Gremlin band with Beyonce,
Gremlin. Yep.
but I still think the Southern Jags. I'm a
You said
Jag.
the Jags outdo Gremlin.
I'm a Jag family. I come from a family. So most of the people in my family went to Howard. Okay, but the Southern Jags, I'm going to put on for Baton Rouge. I'm going to put on for Tony's Seafood. I'm putting it on, baby. Southern's band is better. Even though I had a lot of friends in my high school marching band that went on to Grambling, and they're going to kill me for saying this. Southern's better. Southern's better. Southern's better. And I know, James, you're North Louisiana, okay? And that's the best thing about the Battle of the Bands. It's the best thing about the Bayou Classic is that the Bayou Classic actually splits the state in half. Because at LSU, we don't get that. We don't have a rival, for the entire state. LSU is all LSU. But that's the great thing about, the Classic. We had South Louisiana, Southern, against North Louisiana, Grambling.
No.
Oh, you went to Grambling, James? I had so many high so I went to high school in South Arkansas. So many of my bandmates marched with Grambling. Oh, did you drop the lasagna?
Back up, booger. No, the water spilled everywhere.
Oh, God.
Well, you're not helping, so.
I know. Bryce's first comment. Wait, SPH, where did you go? I forgot. Did you go to Alabama and A&T? Let's see.
No.
Texas A&M cheerleaders are the best? No, I got the joke. Oh my God, dude. I don't think I could do Texas A&M. I don't think I could do the yell leader thing. Oh, Doug Williams. That was my mom's favorite quarterback. Doug Williams was a big deal. But, the Golden Band from Tigerland, they're good. Golden Band from Tigerland? Oh, man. Dude, there's a video on YouTube, or it's on social media somewhere, and I actually have it saved on my phone of
better be from my niece, or she's in trouble.
Of Braden Fijoco's dad. Okay, we all know Braden Fijoco's dad, right? He was the one that brought the haka dance, and there's a video of him at the national championship game with like a selfie camera, and it's got the band playing the what's the song that LSU's band plays better? The Lil Wayne song. God, I like Neck. I like Neck. Well, I was a student when Neck was still played. Alabama State versus Alabama A&M. SPH, Alabama A&M. So where is Alabama A&M and where is Alabama State? The Magic City Classic. But no, okay, Neck is great, but what is the song that LSU plays and they put their own spin on it? And dude, that was peak happiness for me because I was a kid in high school who played football, but then at halftime played snare, and so I was one of those kids that wore the football clothes at halftime. So I'm a band geek. Okay, so Alabama, okay, SPH Huntsville, that makes sense. So the A&M versus Bama State Magic City Classic, is it better than the Bayou Classic? That's interesting. Huntsville's in Montgomery. No, State is in Montgomery. Interesting. Arnett is out. Who else are we looking at? Honestly, they're not looking at anyone right now. I spoke to someone that is connected with the search, and it's kind of dead right now. I don't know where they're going to go. What's up, Bo? So Bo joined. I remember Bo. Bo just joined the live chat one night and said he was going to come back for the recruiting live chat for the very next night for signing day, and Bo didn't show up. We did the whole live chat for you, Bo, and I was just crying. I was like, God, I wonder where Bo is. In his profile pic, he's wearing a suit. I was like, Bo. I'm a Dunbar fan. I am. Opelousas. If you're from Opelousas and you never had Mama's fried chicken, makes me cry because I can't get that where I'm living now. Mama's Fried Chicken is a top 5 Louisiana restaurant. Total, anywhere in the state. Top 5, Mama's Fried Chicken. Plum from Lake Charles. What's up, dude? My wife is the manager. CZB's, yeah, I'm a drummer, but dude, I sucked. Dude, I tried as hard as I could to really be good at snare. I was just good enough to march at halftime. Dude, I sucked. I was not good. I was just not good. I was a better bass drummer than snare. But God, dude, I sucked. And I still have a marching snare. But I suck. I can't play traditional. I cannot play traditional. I can only play matching. Plum, you gotta have it, man. Mama's Fried Chicken in Opelousas, it's worth the hype. And you know what's funny? I don't even get fried chicken. I get their tenders with the side of fried pickles. Dude, their lemonade is thick. Like, in the words of Dion Cole, thicker than cold peanut butter. And only the real ones know about Dion Cole. Dion's so good at stand-up, where, like, when I watched Dion's last special, I was like, God, I just need to quit stand-up comedy. It's hard to do better than his last special. When you did the joke about fried fish, if you like stand-up, you need to go watch Dion Cole's last Netflix special. Now, some of it is hard to relate to, but it's so good. He's so freaking good at comedy. Thicker than cold peanut butter. But no, Mama's Fried thickens. And we had this discussion. My girlfriend bought a 2-gallon jug of diet lemonade from freaking Chick-fil-A in Ruston. Yeah, James, in Ruston. Dude, it was $15. And she was like, it's worth it. It's worth it. I take a sip and I'm like, it's worth it. But no, Mama's Fried Chicken. Okay, the cool thing about their lemonade is that it's like the cylindrical jug, and it just sits on the greasy countertop that's just right there. Okay. And dude, when they pour it out, it's majestic. There's like a sound. It's like an angelic sound when that lemonade pours out. And the best thing about Mama's Fried, oh my God, I love this place so freaking much. Freaking love this place. I used to do material about everything you need to know about going into a fried chicken joint. And I'm telling you, if you ever go to one and there's a lemonade jug of just like, I mean, God, dude, I think about that jug all the time. It just sits there, a huge, and the plastic on that cylindrical jug is thicker than a bulletproof vest. And that lemonade that comes out, it is so thick. Try and talk after chugging an extra large lemonade. Dude, you cannot. And it just festates with all the chicken grease in your belly. And it is so good. It is so freaking good. Mama Fried thickens. Don't sound it. Hero, you see, you know about it. You know about it. Dude, it is the best. It is the freaking best. Yeah, Patrice O'Neal. He's a goat. He's a goat. Patrice does material on stuff that should not be funny. You feel so guilty when you laugh at some of the material he does. It's stupid. It's so stupid how good he was. Some guys are really good at it. It's funny, because I had to work really hard to get like just decent funny. But then, there's some guys like Sinbad who is just good in his first year. Sinbad was headlining like 2 months in the stand-up. SPH coached running backs this past year. Okay, well, let me ask you this. Okay, and we'll get back into LSU recruiting. I know some of you want to talk LSU recruiting. So SPH, I'm interested in what you have to say. Okay, since you're a running backs coach. Okay, let's go to Kevin. Does LSU go after Big Cat from Auburn? Welcome to the chat, Kevin. We actually just talked about it, but you did super chat this. So I'll answer this like we just talked about it, but I will address it. I would love it. Obviously, Ed Orgeron's very aware. There's a clip of Ed Orgeron walking up to Big Cat after the game and telling him how good he was. And this was from the 2019 LSU game in Tiger Stadium. So I would like it. He would add some defensive line depth. I think he's as good, if not better, than any of the defensive line we have coming back. So, yes, it's a loaded position group with a lot of returning starters. He's coming. So I'm interested. I'm very interested. Let's see. So I'm down. I'm down for going after Big Cat. So hopefully, Kevin, that answers your question. If you have no, it's fine, Kevin. If you have a question, just throw it this way. Thank you for supporting. Let's see. But yes, I'm all in on Big Cat. I would love it. And Big Cat, if you're watching, shout out. Oh, internet's choppy again? Well, I'm sorry. That's what happens when you hijack an LSU chat with fried chicken talk. I'm all about it, though. Fried chicken and lemonade talk. I'm telling you. Mama's fried chicken is just Popeyes, but better. It tastes different than Popeyes. It's that freaking good. Andre Anthony and Ojolari. Oh, Marcus, that's it. Okay, and Ulysses isn't in here. He's like an actual engineer. Our internet got choppy because we were microwaving something.
Come here.
And those two intertwine.
I'm turning it back on, babe. Are you cold?
Me? I'm good.
Come here.
Oh, that's a good order right there, Bo. That's a good order. It will. I'm telling you. All right, guys, we're an hour and 37 in. Ooh, Bruce. I think you mean the 2021 recruits, but I see your point. Bruce says Savion Jones will be LSU's best player from the class of 2021. That's bold. I hope you're right. That's a huge, 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 huge statement. Man, dude, I really do. I'm buying into the Mason Smith hype. Oh, I know, James. All right, James, we had this discussion, and I was put down quickly. I always thought, when I went to North Louisiana, I would see a lot of Arkansas Razorback gear, but apparently there is a lot of Alabama fans in North Louisiana. Really? Are there a lot of Bama fans in North Louisiana? I actually am going on radio in Ruston tomorrow at 4 when my buddy Sean Fox. Are there really that many Bama fans up there? Oh, Marcus. Dude, I love you, but don't be one of these root for the SEC. Don't. I hate that. And I like Bama, okay? I've given Bama a lot of credit, okay? But I'm just, I don't. Oh, okay. Because you're okay, I could see that. I didn't have a lot of family members that went to SEC school, so I guess that changes things. What's up, Cade? What you got, man? Where am I from? I'm from Baton Rouge. I claim Baton Rouge where I'm from. I also claim New Roads. That's where my mom's family's from, and I spent a lot of time in New Roads. So that's why I'm a big Matthew Langlois fan. I hope this dude is the next freaking LaRon Landry. That's a good point, James. But are there Bama fans, though? Okay, I can't tell you that, man. I can't tell you where I live now. No, I can't tell you that. Really? You'd have to drop a super chat for me to tell you where I live.
Sorry, Bubba.
No, it's part of the allure. Actually, you know what's funny?
Frozen tundra.
You know what's funny? You want to know where I am right now? I am currently in the LaBerge Casino. This is my LaBerge Casino backdrop.
Oh, stop.
And there's a secret passageway under the poker tables there. And you can find my studio of Steve Nash bobbleheads and 2 Odell Beckham bleacher creature stuffed animals. How does it make us look better if we look? You know, I guess I just don't get that logic. So does it make LSU's win over Florida look that much worse if Florida gets housed by Oklahoma like they did in the Sugar Bowl or whatever bowl it was? Cotton Bowl, I don't even remember. You know what, Cody? I agree with you. One of the and I'm not afraid to admit this. I would say it to Nick Saban's face. I was actually pretty excited when Clemson beat Bama the first time because we were wanting Bama to lose so bad. But when Deshaun to Renfro hit, that was huge. Because if they don't connect there, that 2016 Bama team, that 2016 Bama team was unreal. They were good. Oh, yeah, Kane, you're a Brooklyn Nets guy. Well, how could we judge Steve Nash if your second best player says before the season, look, we don't have a coach, we have a coexistence or whatever he said, and then he didn't show up at all? See, my dream, I like doing LSU chats. It's my favorite thing to do. I would love to do a national radio show. I really would. And talk about national sports. Because I grew up on the NBA. That was my first love. Go Pels. All day. Pelicans games are my happy place. LSU's my happy place. Then I'm a Pelicans fan. Then I'm a Liverpool fan. And then I'm a Saints fan. I know in Huntsville, I was a hater. Okay? I'm not going to lie. I'm a huge Deshaun Watson guy. Huge Deshaun Watson guy. So, you know, Deshaun Watson was my favorite college quarterback before Joe Burrow. I love Deshaun Watson more than any LSU quarterback before Joe Burrow. I just like this story. I like that work done. Helped Deshaun Watson's family out with the house. That was my first real introduction to Deshaun fanhood because I was a big work done fan because he was from Baton Rouge, even though he went to Florida State and played for the Buccaneers. I was a big work done fan. But I was just a big Deshaun fan. Dude, Deshaun was just so much fun to watch in college. He really was. All right, we all love each other. What are your thoughts on the losing streak? Losing streak of what? Oh, the Pelicans losing streak? You know, we suck down the stretch. You know, I don't get to watch many games. I'm just a fan. So does that make me a fan if I don't get to watch the games? The losing streak sucks. You know, Zion's just not a down the stretch type of guy. You know, it's tough because, you know, he's a traditional post without that much perimeter help. And then when you have Steven Adams in the lineup, you know, it kind of clogs the lane. Eric Bledsoe's the only guy that can get to the 10. Yeah, work done's a Catholic high. Y'all remember that? Dear Lord. When he went to Florida State, dude, it was mutiny. But no, so, you know, before Geis and Edwards-Helaire was work done. He was like the biggest star to come out of Catholic high. But, you know, I had a lot of family that went to Catholic High. Matt Moscona went to Catholic High. He could, break that down better for you than me. But, I was just a big Warwick Dunn fan, his story and all of that. And what's funny was he did a book signing my freshman year at Barnes & Noble. And me and my buddy went, and we had Warwick Dunn Tampa Bay Buccaneers jersey. I mean, one of my friends, his name's Taylor. He lives in Shreveport now. And we went, and at the Warwick Dunn book signing, it was so packed. There were so many people, but most of the people there were just, you wouldn't think it was football fans. It was a lot of older women that Warwick had a big impact on their lives. That dude changed a lot of human beings' lives through his philanthropy, building people's houses. That is ridiculous how much that dude has done. Ruston High, 1990. Okay. So I'm a huge Deshaun Watson fan, but I have two unpopular quarterback opinions. Okay. The first unpopular quarterback opinion is, I think, and I'd be interested in what SPH and the Bama fans say about this. I think Mac Jones should return. I really do think he should come back. Look, the quarterback class for next year's draft is not going to be that good. It's not going to be anywhere as close to being as good as this quarterback's class. So if Mac Jones comes back, he legit has a good shot of being a top 5, top 10 pick the next year. And he has no shot at that this year. He has an outside shot of getting in the first round, but he has no shot at being a top 10 pick this year. So my first quarterback opinion is, I think Mac Jones should come back. Also, this is a pretty cool metric. Most quarterbacks that have 2 years of starting experience. Now, Mac Jones has 1.5 years of starters experience, but most quarterbacks that have 2 full years of starting experience at the college level turn out to be good. Really, the only exception of a quarterback being successful with only 1 year of starters experience is Cam Newton. But most good quarterbacks in the NFL have 2 good years of college experience. So I think he should come back. So to counter what SPH said, if you are a first rounder, you should go. Now, I normally live by that unless you're a quarterback. It's a little bit different. Those reps and experience are huge. And he will not, for Bama next year, there will, without reasonable doubt, be a drop-off in their offensive talent. Now, they're still going to be unbelievably talented. They're still going to have top 5 personnel, but their personnel was so much better than everybody's this year. They had the best running back in college football, the best wide receiver in college football, the best offensive line in college football. And really, nobody was close. Nobody was close in any of those departments. So I think he needs to come back, and it would give him more experience in being a true playmaker. Now, that doesn't mean he wasn't any good this year. His efficiency numbers were better than Burrow. His completion percentage was Burrow level. But he wasn't a better quarterback than Burrow as far as being an improvisational playmaker. Next year with Alabama, he would have to be that more so than what he was this year. So I do think he should come back from that perspective. And I think it would do him a lot of good. I do. We got a Joe Montana burner account. So we'll see. But I would totally get him going. Another quarterback opinion, and we're about to wrap this up because it's lasagna time. Another quarterback opinion, if I were the Houston Texans, I would trade Deshaun Watson. And I love Deshaun Watson. A little bit earlier, I shared who I would vote for the NFL MVP. I would vote for Josh Allen or Aaron Rodgers. But I think Deshaun Watson was the third best quarterback in the NFL. After the Will Fuller thing, he didn't really have, many guys to throw to. And, the Nuke Hopkins thing happened. He had a bad offensive line, bad head coaching, and he still statistically had his best season ever. But if I were the Texans, I would trade Deshaun Watson and get as much as I possibly can. Because look, you don't have a whole lot in the NFL draft. You're nowhere close to winning with him. He's eating up a lot of your cap. And when a quarterback eats up that much of your cap, you don't have a good percentage of winning anyway. So I would trade him and just start over. I really would. Let's go to Max. He hooked us up with the super chat here. What's up, Max? Thank you. JT Daniels is going to take Georgia to the next level next year, as long as Kirby, a.k.a. Les Miles Jr.'s, lets Todd Monken, okay, do his thing. Therefore, I think JT Daniels will be the first SEC quarterback taken next year. Interesting. So how many of you think JT Daniels is the best quarterback in the SEC coming back next year? But Huntsville, I'm not saying trade Deshaun Watson because he's bad. He's the exact opposite. They're just nowhere close. That roster is awful, and he doesn't want to be there. Like, how many more reports are we going to see about him not wanting to be there? I mean, it's toxic. I would just scrape the whole thing. Oh, Dez says Miles Brennan is better than JT Daniels. I would disagree with that. I would. I mean, they actually are very similar quarterbacks. You see, I agree, Marcus. And the thing is, even Patrick Mahomes. Take Patrick Mahomes, who has a huge quarterback contract now. He's got an elite coach. They got a great defensive coach. They got Tyrann Mathieu. They got Travis Kelce. They got Clyde. They got Tyreek Hill. I mean, they got a roster. They got a great GM. The Texans have none of that. Okay? I hated their GM hire. But it could be a tabula rasa. It could be one of those things where you just got to scrape everything. And think about if you traded Deshaun, think about how many first-round picks you would get in return. So if he's not happy there, how many teams would trade what they have now to get Deshaun Watson? A lot. Trade him. And that's the thing. He is sublime. So if he's sublime right now, this would be the time to get the capital in return. They are legit. And, I share what I bet with you guys. The biggest bet I made in the NFL this year was I bet the Texans under. Their win total was 7.5. That was the easiest bet I've ever made. That roster was terrible. Their coaching was terrible. And I also predicted Deshaun Watson would be incredible. But they are that bad. They are so bad. They're so bad. Name a position group where they're top 10. There's nowhere. Bottom 10 secondary, bottom 10 linebacker, bottom 10 defensive line, bottom 10 offensive line, bottom 10 receiver. The only position they're anywhere decent is quarterback. Get rid of them because they're nowhere close. Nowhere close. So, Gasly, that's the question. You can't win without a franchise QB. Why would you get rid of a proven one? And that's a great point. That's an absolutely great point. But when you are so freaking bad, they are so bad. Go look at their roster. Go look at their roster. Who are you high? What position group are you high on that roster? Even with the Jets have an amazing defensive line. They've got some pieces on the offense. The Texans have nothing. They have nothing. They're awful. Awful. maybe the Texans call the Miami Dolphins and say, look, let's trade this whole thing back. We want our number 3 pick back. Give us Xavier Howard. Give us all your first-round picks that you have. I think the Dolphins would do that. I think they would do that. Deshaun goes to a winning culture with a head coach on the rise. And then you start over. And that's what beat them all out. It's to the point, I don't know. It's a strange thing because there is no NFL magic formula. There just isn't. Yeah, that's a good point, Marcus. They probably won't listen. But, if you're listing quarterbacks who you would want for the next 10 years, it's Mahomes 1, then probably Josh Allen 2. I would say so right now. And then Herbert or Burrow at 3. And then Lamar 4, and then probably Deshaun 5. He's one of those guys. Now there's some other guys you can mention with the next decade talk. Russell Wilson, anybody. Watson's only 25. I wouldn't put Burrow ahead of Deshaun, no, especially now. Now, before the injury, maybe. Deshaun's better than Lamar? That's close. They're polar opposite quarterbacks. She going out again?
Yeah. Come on.
All right, guys, we got to wrap this up. We got lasagna to eat.
Come on, baby.
So if y'all want to keep talking, I don't mind. As my girlfriend always says, if the super chats keep coming, if I get a Venmo or Cash App, I don't mind hanging out for a little bit longer.
You can hang out. We're going to bed.
Did you already eat?
Yeah.
You didn't wait for me?
No, because you take too long, and I have to get up and go to work. Sorry.
All right. Let's see. Any more super chats, Cash Apps, Venmos? If you're the Saints, would you give up 3 first-rounders for Watson? That's tough, Bo. Maybe. I don't know, Bo, simply because if you're the Saints, you feel pretty comfortable drafting because they've done pretty well at it. Any NFL coaches that may be a good fit for DC that's affordable? None. I get so many Matt Patricia, and the fit, everything about that would be awful. It would just be awful. I'm out on Matt Patricia as LSU defensive coordinator. And please don't send. That's a name that I just nah. I'm a Raheem Morris maybe. I don't know. Man, we can't afford Watson. That too. Carpet. I like that name. Gasly says the guy O wanted but was told no by the AD was a DL coach of the Saints. Why was he told no? I'm interested. I don't, I've heard so much about Ryan Nielsen and I've heard different things. What I was told was, he wants to be in the NFL. And that's what, I was also told about Chris Richard, that he wants to be in the NFL. I'm open to Ryan Nielsen. I don't know anything about his defensive schemes or anything like that. So that's what I've heard too, Gasly, especially the second part. I talked about that on a live stream a few episodes ago. you know, I'd still be open to Ryan Nielsen. I was open to Zach. I'm open to anything. I just wanted Bo Pelini out. I just did. To this day, I still don't know how. And everybody messes up hires. They do. I still don't know how LSU just did not see the red flags there. We haven't talked any about Ray Thornton either. Plum, that is so funny. Plum, that is so freaking funny. Oh my God, we were just talking about serious stuff and oh man, I love that. Plum, that joke. Kane's normally the funny one, but Plum always repping Lake Charles. We had so many Lake Charles viewers. I love that. Oh man. Plum with the freaking Mitch Hedbergian one-liner, the Stephen Wright one-liner out of nowhere. Carpet didn't even see it. I'm a Schumann guy, as you guys know. Schumann's my number one candidate right now. He's a very Arandian guy. He's very quiet. Or he's low-key. He might be fired up, behind closed doors. I don't know. But there you have it. Hopefully I answered, let's see, last super chat. Yeah, Kevin, I'm kind of out on the, okay, Carpet just saw it. Carpet, I know you're new to the channel. I'm glad you could take a joke. That's good, man. If you can't take a joke, don't watch this stuff. That was such a great joke. Maybe I don't laugh at that a few minutes in because it is so corny. But it was, I don't know what Plum, sometimes I don't know what's going through Plum's mind. Schumann is at Georgia. The guy at Bama is Golding. Yeah, anybody at this point. Belichick in. You see, I'm a Coward fan. Yeah, I do like Colin a lot. I think he's one of my biggest influences. My biggest is Stuart Scott, though. I just don't think I could ever watch SportsCenter. Growing up watching Stuart Scott, it was just so great. And it was funny because everyone at ESPN knew Stuart was the best at doing the highlights. Just, out of nowhere, the booyah and cool as the other side of the pillow. Dude, he made that stuff look so effortless. And dude, reading the highlights is tough. Man, I get so emotional thinking about Stuart. He was just such a big person for me. And he was a UNC Tar Heel. How about that? For you Jordan fans out there. Or you Phil Longo fans out there. I know, Eric. It's just fun. And Neil Everett's good. Neil Everett and Stan Verrett is the best Sports Center. Now, I would put them number one, then SVP number two. I do like Scott a lot. But Stewart just made it cool. I know a lot of you are like Dan Patrick and Olbermann guys. They were great. Rich Eisen was great. Charlie Steiner, Linda Cohn, all those guys are great. But Stu, and Stu just, man, dude, I would get fired up. I would watch Shaq dunk, and then I would just go watch the highlights on SportsCenter when we didn't have these supercomputers that just showed us highlights. Back in our day, we had to wait for SportsCenter. Stan Verrett, 504. He's one of us, man. Too little sport. Yeah, I could agree with that too, Marcus. But it's weird. Like Stewart made the thing so freaking cool. God, he made it so cool. And, I wouldn't. And then, John Saunders was a big influence on me. I met him when I was young. And he died about 5 years ago. Took over for Dick Schaap on the Sports Reporters. Remember Sports Reporters with Bill Rhoden, Mike Lupica, Mitch Albom, Bob Ryan. Kay Adams. Kay Adams is good. She's a good broadcaster. Micah DeSormo. Micah, if you drop a super chat, I'll be happy because I was about to sign this off. I got some hot lasagna. Stephen A. Got some Stephen A fans in here? I like Stephen A. I had a run-in with Stephen A, though, when I was at Sirius XM. He stole my studio that I worked in. And he didn't steal it. They put him in there, and they kicked me out. And Stephen A was doing Fox Sports Radio, and he was in D.C. So what they would do is they would, rent the studios out at Sirius XM. And Stephen A was doing a show in the studio where I produced a different show. I used to be the producer of Coach K's weekly radio show at Sirius XM. And Coach K, love that guy. And I don't even like Duke basketball. And Duke is like half of my favorite NBA team. But I don't think I could be a Duke basketball fan. I just can't fake it. I just can't. The same, I was always a Michigan State guy growing up. Mateen Cleaves, Morris Peterson. God, that was a great team. Stephen A was good on radio. He was good on radio. Brian Burwell, Mark. I like that. From the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. Brian was good. His parting shots were always really good. I remember Brian Burwell. I'm a big Jackie McMullen fan, too. And I think she's great. I think Tony Reality, really nice dude. I got to sit in on some Around the Horn episodes. Yeah.
Go ahead, Ben. Come on.
Coach K is the Tebow of coaches. I think that's fair. I'll tell you this. One thing about Coach K is he curses a lot. A freaking lot. Like Kevin Garnett level cursing. Well, nobody's ever going to be KG level cursing. But you wouldn't think that. But Coach K, dude, he is a fiery guy.
We're mad at Millennium.
What's up with Ruth? We supported her basketball game tonight.
She won't hardly text you back.
Well, she's so her niece is so I went to her basketball game. All right, me and my girlfriend go see her niece. 9th grade girls basketball game. And, it's, yeah, I was watching some NBA clips. I wouldn't watch that. It's kind of hard. But now, my girlfriend's just trying to reach out to her niece, and she's shady button. Because she's got a new boyfriend.
It's not her boyfriend.
Not her boyfriend. I don't know how you guys that have daughters do it. I don't know how you do it.
Well, she's really pissing me off.
I'm telling you, I don't know how you do it. Sons are bad, but I don't know, man. The dads in here, respect to you.
Well, Delaney's on my list, so.
Jawan's a Skip and Shannon guy. Undisputed. Yeah, I know. Kane.
Brand new t-shirt.
Kane's a Levitard guy. That's right. Levitard's really good.
You won't be getting no more shit from me.
Dan is one of the most humble guys in media you'll ever meet. Girl's dad. How about that? Carvis has one son?
You said the F word.
No, I didn't.
Oh.
That's a good point, Marcus.
Well, I'm going to get a new favorite niece. How about that?
Bo with 3 daughters, 2 8-year-olds and 1. Dang, that's
How old?
one. Yes, 2 8-year-olds and 1 that's only a year.
Oh, wow.
God, Bo, that is some
That's
gap.
some baby.
There's some baby. Bo, you're going to have a life ahead of you. You're going to have a fun life.
Well, I have 3 nieces.
Just take your kids to Mama's Fried Chicken, man. Cool Mama's Fried Chicken, okay? Affordable. My favorite Louisiana restaurants: Mama's Fried Chicken, Rotolos. I love Rotolos. Love me some Rotolos, man. Yeah, you're right. You know, Coach K had to work. Yeah, so did Stephen A. You know, Stephen A. was very interesting. You know, you remember Quite Frankly, and then it was canceled. You know what, Kane? I'm a little biased towards PTI because they also let me sit in on their show. I actually got to sit in on a PTI show meeting. Shout out to the producer, Aaron Solomon. So the way it used to work was Around the Horn and PTI were both filmed in DC in the same studio. So, you know, I got to sit in on some Around the Horn episodes. And then, you know, before I left, I was able to meet those guys. It was really cool. Bama played Duke in 2010 in Durham, and Coach K was there. It was weird to see him at a football game.
Bernie, we're not happy with her right now.
I think 2019 LSU and 2020 Bama. What did you do? What was that? Did y'all hear that? What was that?
Carter, the lid was not on the pills.
Oh, it's just our
The
sleeping
pills, but I don't want Bernie to get one and eat it.
Bugger, stop.
Can you get off that, please? Thank you for doing that.
She dropped her sleeping pills. Nothing was broke. Your lasagna. So Bug will eat everything that's on the floor. So I have to hold her. And she can't eat table scraps anymore. The Allen Iverson, Quite Frankly. My lasagna got too cold and self-destructed. I'm about to go eat some right now. So everyone say goodnight to Booger. Mark, hopefully, I'm going to finish up Mark's super chat. I think 2019 LSU and 2020 Bama are approximately equal. I agree with you. 2019 beats 2020 Bama 6 out of every 10 times. How about that? All right, Bug. Guys, it's been fun. Thank you for all your super chats. This was one of our funner live streams. I appreciate you.
Maybe she's nervous.
She's nervous.
Carter, look at her. Get
She-
her here.
Go. All right,
Come on,
Bug.
baby. You gotta go get mom bed or you will go back out.
Guys, thank you so much for all the support. Bug appreciates it. And we'll talk to you soon, guys. Lasagna time. Let's go. It's power hour. LSU. Boom. Bomb, bomb, bomb.